told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim. We got AC and Justin here. This is a Cash Kelly and AC Sports Report. We are previewing the second playoff matchup. The first game that we previewed was the Bengals and the Texans. Check that video out on our channel. This is the second game, and I want to remind you guys, we will be on live during this game. All the details are on our channel, youtube.com/Mr. Kelstar. Go there. All the details about our live show on Saturday night at 8 o'clock are there. How you can call in, all the NFL guests that will be calling into the program, and really anything you need to know about the show. During that show, we're going to preview the other two playoff matchups, and then ultimately we'll put those on YouTube later on that night. So let's get on to the Lions and the Saints. Let me break down first how this game went the first time these two teams met on December 4th, which was a few weeks ago. Matt Stafford actually had the most passing yards with 408 yards, but he only threw one touchdown, he threw one pick. Drew Brees, who threw for a modest 342 yards, was able to then go and throw for 3 touchdowns and 0 picks and have a quarterback rating of 129. So he had a pretty nice game there. Here's how the scoring went. In the first quarter, John Casey had a 39-yard field goal to make it 3-0 Saints. Second quarter, Mark Ingram ran for a 14-yard run, 10-0 New Orleans. Also in the second quarter, with about 8 minutes left, Robert Meacham caught a 67-yard pass from Drew Brees. At that point, this game was 17-0. The Lions get back into it with a Kevin Smith 2-yard touchdown run, 17-7, and then Lance Moore catches a 20-yard pass to make this a 24-7 game at the half. In the third quarter, the Lions, it was all Lions. Jason Hanson hits a 31-yard field goal, and then as time winds down in the third quarter, Maurice Morris has a 9-yard touchdown pass, or catches a 9-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford. Darren Sproles in the fourth quarter had the final touchdown, which ultimately made this a 31-17 New Orleans Saints victory. Now, this is a game where you really don't expect to see a lot of defense. I think that there's a few factors that play into this. The Saints, who lost Mark Ingram, can Darren Sproles, who's been a tremendous weapon, get going? Can Pierre Thomas get going? And then for the Lions, can Kevin Smith get going? Obviously, this team lost Javid Best earlier in the year, and Kevin Smith actually came on pretty strong for this team, averaging 4.9 yards a carry, which is very good. So we'll have to see about that. I mean, when they played the first two times, Nate Burleson actually had more receiving yards than Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson had 6 catches for 69 yards, and then Nate Burleson had 5 catches for 93 yards. So, as far as the Saints side go, Jimmy Graham tore it up in this game. He had 8 catches for 89 yards, while Robert Meacham had 3 catches for 119 yards. So the Saints offensively, they looked just a little bit better. So two of the key factors I see in this game are, can Stafford keep down on the picks? I mean, he has to be almost perfect in this game for the Lions to win. It's going to be a shootout, and in a shootout, you cannot afford to be throwing touch or picks, let alone if it's a pick six or puts them in good field position. You're just not going to beat the Saints team if you turn the ball over a ton of time. And the other thing, the Superdome is one of the hardest places to go into. Can the Lions, who had trouble with penalties this year, can they keep the penalties down in the Superdome? This is obviously a learning experience for the Lions, regardless of the outcome. For a majority of the team, it's their first time in the playoffs. Ndamukong Suh, guys like that. Jim Schwartz, his first time as a head coach in the playoffs. Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and the list goes on. So we'll have to see how they react in a playoff environment. AC, what do you think, man?
Yeah, like you said, turnovers are going to be big. If whoever turns the ball over less will probably win this game. You know, everyone always says that's really important in the playoffs, and it's pretty obvious. The thing I look at in this game is the fact that the Lions have had problems running the football all year. Obviously, they lost Best, so they had to go with Kevin Smith, who has been pretty efficient in his taking over for Javid Best. but they're still 29th overall in the NFL in rushing yards. So they haven't been able to get much going on the ground. And while you said, yes, it's going to be a shootout, I think the Saints are able to run the ball more effectively, and they have more weapons out of the backfield in Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles. So I give the edge to the Saints in the running game.
Yeah, no question. I think part of the thing with the Lions, why they didn't have as many rushing yards, is they just didn't run the ball quite as much, because Matthew Stafford tore it up this year. He had a tremendous season with 41 touchdowns and 16 picks. I mean, if he can cut down the picks, this guy, the completion percentage wasn't great, but he had a very good season this year. He was a monster. But regardless of that, keep going, AC.
Yeah, I mean, he did have a really good year. His problem, like you said, has been interceptions. So he really can't afford too many mistakes in this game, because he's going up against a quarterback who's even better than him in Drew Brees, and who literally had a better year than him, as weird as that is to say, because he had such a stellar year. But that's pretty much what I was going to say right there.
All right, Justin, what do you think about this game?
Well, you guys pretty much broke it down here, but you guys said about those turnovers, they are going to play a huge factor. But if you're looking at the quarterback situation, I think it's going to be a big blowout kind of a game. It's going to be all passing. I don't see the running game being really effective in this one, so you'll be seeing a lot of screen passes to Darren Sproles in this one, and also Kevin Smith. Now, you said the last time that these teams played, they were without, Detroit was without their running back job at best. They went with Kevin Smith, who played last time. They played, got 34 yards in the whole game, a pretty down game for him, including Mark Ingram. The running game was just not consistent at all on both sides, because it was the passing game. Matt Stafford, who's healthy all year, completed a large amount of his passes, 31 for 44 last time, and Drew Brees, who was also really consistent, only missing 10 passes. It was just going to be a blowout game, and I think it's going to continue. I don't really see the running game being really into this, so I'm going to be going with the Saints in this one. I think it's going to be a total hype scoring game. I have the Saints winning 38-31. I have Drew Brees throwing over 300 yards. I wouldn't say going over the 400-yard mark, but he is going to be somebody you really want to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going with that score. I mean, I just don't see games in the playoffs I don't see the scores that high, and I think that the Saints right now are one of the favorites to come out and win the Super Bowl, but this matchup against the Lions scares you, because if there's any team besides the Packers that can, and the Patriots ultimately, and maybe even the Steelers, that can compete in a shootout, it's the Lions, because the Lions are not, they have a pretty solid defense from what their defense was a few years ago, and they also have, obviously, Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Titus Young, Nate Burleson, Mercury Morris, Kevin Smith, Tony Scheffler, Brandon Pettigrew. I mean, they have a lot of weapons to throw to, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Lions won this game. That being said, though, I think that the Saints are just overall a better team. I like what I've seen out of them recently, and that's what I felt last year. If you want to go back and check at that Saints-Seahawks preview where I picked the Saints to blow them out, and we all know what ultimately ended up happening. But I see the Saints winning this one 30-21.
Yeah, I mean, you just totally took my score, but I think that the ultimate outcome of this game is going to come off of who can make the most of their opportunities, because both teams are going to be relying heavily on the pass, and both teams have pretty bad pass defenses. So it's basically going to be who can score quicker and more, and who can make the most of the opportunities that they're given, whether that's off turnovers or, good defense by some crazy thing. But I'm going to go with the Saints in this one, 35-24.
Alright, so that is our Saints and Lions preview. Make sure that you check out our live show Saturday night. For now, we will be hosting this show. We might have one other host on with us, I'm not sure. This is a Cash Kelly and AC Sports Report. We'll see you guys later.